Continuing the discussions about sex crimes, well, we talked about child pornography in the prior mini-module. In this mini-module, I'm going to talk about 4 other varieties of internet sex crimes. I'm going to talk about revenge porn, sexual blackmail, sexting, and online prostitution. Now, in talking about these offenses, it's important to, again, stress that the creation of the internet changed the way that these offenses existed and presented new opportunities for individuals to offend and others to be victimized as a result of this new way of sharing information. So we're going to spend a couple of minutes talking about each type, and then we'll talk about why people engage in these and the patterns and those sorts of things, and as usual, how different disciplines would respond to these offenses. Revenge porn. This refers to instances when individuals share intimate photos online without the permission of the people in the photos. This is also known as non-consensual pornography. For a while, there were actually websites that boasted that that's the reason they existed, was to shame ex-girlfriends or ex-boyfriends. And these while they still exist or say they exist, it's actually illegal now in 38 states to post, and in the District of Columbia, to post those sorts of materials without the permission of the people in the videos. Done to embarrass former partners. It's also done as a method of revenge, but also a method of power to hold over individuals who experience these activities. It's not a perfect solution. Lewandowski points out that one of the remedies that victims have is they can sue offenders who share that information. Now, it's not exactly revenge porn, but it was a sex lawsuit where Hulk Hogan sued Gawker because Gawker published online a video of him engaging in sexual activities with a partner. He actually eventually received $31 million as a result of that lawsuit in the agreement. The jury gave him $170+ million. Eventually Gawker agreed to give him $31 million. But it demonstrated the point that that the courts can get involved in situations where the internet is used to embarrass people, and the sexual videos or pictures are posted online. There have been a few instances. We're starting to see people be prosecuted criminally for these cases. It's still relatively new, but we can expect that there probably will be additional prosecutions, and it's too early to tell whether those prosecutions will deter future behaviors. Sexual blackmail. This occurs when people find compromising photos and videos and threaten to publish them unless they're paid. 2011, the FBI received 50 complaints. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but many of them target physicians. And the idea among the offenders is that they would receive more information if they go after people who have more to lose. And here, what they threaten to do is that they threaten that they're going to tell everyone what they did. They threaten that they're going to, even for people that didn't do things, they just get a hold of people's information and contact them, and they say, we're going to tell everyone that you went to this website, or we're going to tell everyone that you went to this site or this location. And what they do is they tell them that they're going to put this information on the line. If you don't take it off, we're going to leave it there. If you want it off, will pay us $250 and they'll take it off. 50 complaints, and we'll see if this one grows. But there have been other examples where comedian Kevin Hart was told that he was going to have videos and information released about him if he didn't pay money. He just pulled up his Instagram and said, "I'm being blackmailed. Here's who's doing it, and here's what they're doing," and suddenly the police can get involved, the courts can get involved. Less common, though, is that type of response. Sexting is another offense of an internet sex crime. We alluded to this a little bit before, and we talked about bullying, but here we can talk about it in a more general sense, and it refers to instances when people send photos, videos, comments of a sexual nature. There was a Pew study a few years ago that found that 4% of teens with cell phones had sent sexual photos. 15% of teens with cell phones had received them. Older teens and teens who pay their own phone bills, the Pew study found, were more likely to sext. Now, note, this was a decade ago. More recently, there was a survey of 352 undergraduate students by Druin and Druin's colleagues, and they found that nearly 2/3 had sent or received a sexual message. Now, I share these data because let's take a moment and think about that. 2009, 4% of teens had sent sexual photos, 15% had received them. Less than a decade later, that was up to 2/3, and it's probably increasing. Now, it's important to note that the 2017 study wasn't as large as the Pew study, but still, it is certain that it has increased in the past decade. Half of those who sent out, who were involved in texting in Druin's study, reported sexual or emotional consequences, and 1/10 reported additional negative consequences from their behaviors. Now, while they report those consequences, it's important to bear in mind and to remember that these can have long-term consequences. It isn't just an immediate instance when it occurs, but once that information is shared, sent, or received, it's there forever. Now, whether it's illegal or not, if two adults engage in sexting behaviors, there was a case where you may recall a famous Super Bowl quarterback sent out some materials, and he distributed pictures to an ESPN reporter. Not a crime. Is it wrong? Probably. Not a crime. If someone sends material to a minor, then it's definitely a crime. Now, what gets tricky here is when minors send materials to other minors, and they certainly need to be trained and taught that they can have some serious legal repercussions, even though they're under the age and sending. If they're sending it to another minor, that is a violation of child sexual abuse laws. Also, if they're communicating photos and videos of minors, so it's not just sending it to a minor, but sending pictures and photos of a minor in a sexting environment is illegal. So we can expect these behaviors to increase, and likely the patterns will continue to evolve as more opportunities exist. Online prostitution is another sex offense that has grown with the advent of the internet. Internet technology has changed the way that prostitution crimes are committed, and the number of people that seek prostitutes has grown. Former street prostitutes have gone from working on the streets to going online and marketing online. It's believed that online prostitutes, and research shows, they engage in less likely risky behavior than street workers. It's easier to market. It's less expensive. It's inexpensive to market sexual sales online, and it's relatively easy for online prostitutes to evade law enforcement. Now, having said all of this, in the past year or two, the federal government has cracked down on online marketing and has actually, we've seen changes in websites being frozen, websites not serving in the U.S. anymore, even though there's some that exist internationally. They don't show online in the U.S. because they'd be prosecuted for a racketeering influence Corrupt Organizations Act, essentially organizational crime or organized crime is how the feds are now treating these organized opportunities where people used to market on different websites opportunities to sell sexual behavior. The feds have said, we're not going to tolerate that. Now, some prostitutes have objected and said that actually makes our jobs less. You're not doing us any favors. You're making it more risky for us. And the feds are not listening to those sorts of complaints. The reason they've cracked down is concerns about child trafficking being involved in online prostitution. Who's engaging in these offenses? The sexual blackmail offenses, typically these are individuals who are doing other types of scams as well. They might be doing dating scams. They might be doing auction fraud scams. They're just scammers, and this is just another way for them to scam someone, and they use the sexual identity notions to do the scam. Revenge porn is typically tied to some form of relationship. And obviously it would be in the aftermath of a relationship and someone feeling like they were harmed by their ex-partner, and so they turn to the revenge as a strategy. In terms of prostitution, the online prostitutes who get arrested, the average age is 28, 60% are white, 11% are black, and the same study by Cunningham and Kendall found that 41% of online prostitutes had a college degree. Now, we wouldn't see the same pattern in street prostitution and traditional prostitution. You'd see fewer with a college degree. You'd see a lower age, or you'd see a more diverse population of prostitutes, and you'd see different patterns. Now, whether it will change with the Fed's crackdown on online marketing of prostitution remains to be seen, but there are some different patterns that we see with our online prostitution. Clients of prostitutes tend to be, same study found 80% were white, the average age of 43, and these again are online clients. Now, as I noted, it is relatively easy to evade law enforcement. There are actually apps that are out there that people can pay for this app to prove that they're not a police officer or works for both prostitutes and for what we call Johns being the ones that seek the prostitutes. And these sort of apps and these sort of strategies make it fairly easy. They even develop these languages that they use and these narratives and these words that they're not selling sex, they're selling time. And the money is for the time they spend together. And while that may be the language that they're using in the marketing for the individual websites, the fact remains that behavior is illegal. Patterns surrounding internet sex crimes. It's believed that internet technology, Cunningham and Kendall point out, helps the victims, or the prostitutes, to reach many people with their advertising, to build reputations, to employ screening methods to reduce the risk of getting caught. Now, these screening methods and the reaching the clients again, help to evade the law enforcement. But in terms of the reputations, there's actually websites that will allow the prostitutes to be rated and evaluated by the clients. It also provides a new strategy for communication in the form of texting, and the internet also, and technology, Calvert points out, provides a weapon of emotional and reputational destruction in revenge porn. So here again, technology, the internet technology, has reshaped the types of crimes and the experiences of crimes in terms of revenge porn, online prostitution, sexting, and so on. Why do individuals engage in these crimes? Typically it's about power, not sex. In internet sex crimes, power may play a role, and patriarchal theory has been used to understand these crimes, where women are treated as property and women are treated as commerce, and the internet may actually perpetrate this patriarchal society in some ways. It's a question I'd want you to think about some.